Okay, we're ready.
Okay, if I could get a motion for approval of our previous meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have, and then we will be having a presentation from Mr. Little and Marcy. Is it Crest? Is that right, Marcy? Okay. And so, okay, our first piece of legislation is ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to apply for, and if awarded, enter into a grant agreement or agreements with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and Ohio Emergency Management Agency, Ohio EMA, for funding through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program to acquire properties experiencing repetitive loss due to flooding, authorizing expenditure of funds consistent with the program, designating the project manager responsible for implementing the hazard mitigation grant program and declaring an emergency. Mr. Leto?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. On the call today with me is Heather Ellinger from engineering. Heather's put extensive work into this grant program over the last few years. Down what we call the Woodland Wetlands, down in Firestone Park, we've been dealing with some houses for a number of years that are in an area where they're consistently taking on water, and it's all groundwater. So through their notification to us and for us reaching out, and we designated an area, Heather and engineering has applied for this FEMA grant. So it's through the Federal Emergency Management Association, and we're going to receive a grant totaling over $1 million. Well, what this is for is to purchase property down there, and we have met with these individual owners over time, interviewed them, measured their basements, did extensive work on their homes. And this is going to be a program where we go in, we appraise the home, and we actually purchase the home, and then we will demo the home. So this is to protect the rest of the area. There are 10 properties that we're going to acquire, plus other vacant parcels that do not have structures on them. So I was going to ask for consent, but we just found out Thursday that we did receive the funds, which is pretty exciting. So if I could ask for, we will take any questions first, obviously, but we would ask for a vote, suspension of the rules, to sign and accept this grant for these funds.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Leto. Heather, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No. Well, one thing, the federal share is 75%. The state match is actually 12.5%, and then our share is 12.5%. And the funds are administered through the state. So, with that, yeah, if you have any questions, let me know.
I have just a few. I do recall there were some residents that had come down to council before and talked about the massive flooding over in that area. Is this the same area we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Yes.
So it says on here that it's going to acquire 9 structures and 19 vacant parcels. How many total structures will be left, or has all the residents decided to allow their properties be purchased?
No, there'll be quite a few left in that neighborhood, but this will help mitigate the risk to the rest of the properties, because the open land will allow the water where it will help. We're taking the area where the water is the most prevalent in this neighborhood. So we've had people that didn't even return our contact information, that, you know, they were not interested in acquisition.
So when you take up these parcels and the structures, will there be some kind of, I don't know if it'll be like some kind of CSO project or something where the other water will run through, or this will just suffice by demolishing these properties?
Well, this area where we are going to remove the structures, we've pretty much managed the water, but it's still groundwater. So when you get these big storms, the water comes up. By demoing these properties will alleviate that water getting to the existing property. Yes.
Okay, okay. Any questions from committee members? Any question? Mr. Kamer, Councilman Kamer?
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I just want to briefly state that I'm in favor of this, and I want to thank our service director, Chris Little, for his hard work, and obviously Heather and everybody that's been involved. This has been a long process, a lot of flooding back into this neighborhood. I mean, we've had a lot of residents with a lot of concerns back there, and I just want to say thank you to Chris. The relationship that we've had working together with communication and working with the residents, I can't thank him enough. He's really done a great job over the years communicating with me. With that moving forward, I just want to make sure my name's added to this piece, please.
Absolutely.
And I definitely support this. This is long overdue. And I just want to thank everybody involved, because this has been a tough process back there with these homes being flooded. So with that, I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thanks.
Okay, Sarah, did you get that? Can you add Councilman Kamer?
I will, thank you.
Any other questions from any other committee members?
Chairperson, the only thing I would like to say, thank you, Mr. Kamer, but along with Heather, sewer maintenance has done a great job down there too over the years, helping these residents. So I would like to thank the sewer maintenance personnel over the time that this has been going on.
Okay. Any questions from any council members? I don't see any hands. Do you, Sarah?
I do not.
Okay. If I could get a motion for suspension of the rules.
I'll make the motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The ayes have it. And with that, that piece will be passed this evening. And again, thank you, Heather and Chris, for all your work on this legislation. And on to Marcy and Chris to give us an update on the CSO project.
Actually, yes, Marcy's here to talk about reworks, and I thank you, Marcy, for coming on. I think it's on consent this week, the piece that we have to pass for our solid waste program. So I'm going to turn it over to Marcy, and she's going to talk about our program and some of the things we've been doing with our recycling program.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Mr. Little, thank you for that introduction. Marcy Kress, I'm the Executive Director for the Summit Akron Solid Waste Management Authority. We do business as Reworks. So you hear me mention that a little more often for the rest of this very brief opportunity to provide you an update on our solid waste plan. As one of 52 solid waste districts in the state of Ohio, our jurisdiction being all of Summit County, we are required every 5 years to provide an update to our solid waste management plan. It is a 15-year plan, but we update it every 5 years. The last time we brought it for the city's approval was around 2014. The solid waste plan is a format that we're required to fill out. It is not a document that we choose how it looks. The format is given to us by the Ohio EPA. And there's a number of things we have to do in this document. We have to not only show adequate landfill capacity for all of Summit County, but we also need to show how we are going to implement services and programs to meet the 9 state mandated waste reduction goals. So it is a 6-chapter, 20 appendices document. It's 150 pages right now. We do have an executive summary portion of that. And with your permission, I would love to just give you the highlights on the priorities that we have in the plan, just very briefly, as well as go over a little bit about what the ratification process is and what we're asking from the city. The highlights from the plan as far as priorities is I do want to assure everybody our services will be maintained throughout the next 5 years in the solid waste plan 15-year plan, which most commonly known as the Household Hazardous Waste Recycling Center that services all Summit County residents, our document shredding and recycling events, our scrap tire collections, our TV electronics collection, All of those will be maintained, our business recycling service program. Additionally, and we've had a lot of fortune working with Akron on this effort, we will continue to do countywide education for curbside recycling. Our message goes all over Summit County, including Akron residents, to help encourage increased recycling and decrease in contamination. We will maintain the community recycling assistance grants, which I think is important for all of our municipalities to know. That grant we have in place to provide financial support to municipalities to run curbside recycling and or composting efforts for their residents. That's been in place since 2005, and it will remain in place for the duration of the solid waste plan. Additionally, the things we're looking for as far as expansion is just the opportunity to explore additional options for the management of food waste. It gives us a chance to try to find different solutions, identify them for the duration of the plan, but there's no specific details in place except that we will continue support. We have an organics recycling committee that's in place, and they had set goals for us, and that will be in place for the solid waste plan management. Additionally, something new for the plan update is that we are looking to relocate our administrative offices and explore the possibilities of having a service center for increased collection of difficult to manage materials. Again, the plan just states we have the ability to look at those options and find solutions that best fit us. Everything is subject to our Board of Trustees approval and a number of other things, but the plan allows us to explore those opportunities. The way we get this plan passed is it has to be ratified by the largest municipality, which of course is the city of Akron, as well as at least 60% of the population represented by cities, townships, and villages all over Summit County. And once we reach 60%, we also have to have county council approve, our Board of Trustees approve. We hold a public comment period, which is currently underway. We have that will run until November 25th. We also had our public hearing on the 17th. So as you will see, we had unique circumstances this year as far as the time frame. We do need to have we are trying to meet our deadline for November 25th to get our plan submitted to the high PA. Of course, that is in a few days. And we are going out to communities while we're in public comment period, explaining the circumstances we're under. We're on a few month delay due to COVID, and we are trying to explain what's in our plan and look for a ratification of the process in the meantime. I do want to add one last piece, and then of course I'll entertain any questions. We are not proposing a generation fee increase in the solid waste plan. The last time we had a generation fee, which is how our agency receives funds, it's for every ton of trash, was in 2004. And a portion of that grant funds go to different various expenses, landfill post-closure care, community recycling assistance grants, and our operations. There is no intent to raise that generation fee for the remainder of this planning period. So with that, I'll entertain any questions either on the content of the plan or of course the ratification process, which is a little unique timeframe this year.
Great. Thank you, Marcy, for that update and overview. Are there any questions from the committee? Are there any questions from council members?
Madam Chair, I'm not sure if you can see it. Councilman Malik has his hand.
Malik and then Councilman Fusco. So Shamus, you can go first, and then Jeff, you can go immediately after him.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you so much, Marcy. My apologies if I missed this since I came 2 minutes late, but can you just talk a little bit about how the plan relates to materials that typically aren't recycled in Akron, like glass? Yeah, basically that.
So our plan, there's a few established reports that we must respond to as far as providing a summary of all of the programs that are in place for all of Summit County. So there's a portion of our plan where we explain what infrastructure is in place for our cities, townships, and villages. So in that infrastructure report, the city of Akron has a curbside recycling program, and it's what we call a non-subscription, which means that residents participate in that. But as far as the markets of recyclable material, that is all dependent upon the private industry and how they're able to capture and recover products. So our plan speaks specifically to the infrastructure that's in place. Those items are not addressed in our solid waste plan.
Thank you.
Councilman Fusco.
Okay, sorry about that. I keep on trying. Thank you, Chair. samples. It seems like I ask this every year. I know I don't, but given that in a couple days it's going to be Thanksgiving, and I know some people like to deep fry their turkeys, but that oil, I've always found friends of mine who may deep fry turkeys, they always find it a challenge to get rid of that oil in a responsible way. Do you have any advice for them?
Of course, and thank you for asking this question. As part of our household hazardous waste collection that runs seasonally, we have been accepting cooking oil for the last several years. So all Summit County residents can bring their oil to us free of charge at that drop-off during the hazardous waste operation days. There are a few private companies that will accept public drop-off, and we try to provide that information on our website as a resource. But as of right now, those are the opportunities we're aware of for cooking oil.
That's cool. Thank you so much for that. Hey, Chris, do you believe that we could maybe, I'm also a subscriber to the app that we have. Maybe we could push some of that information out.
Absolutely.
On recycling app.
Definitely do not put it down the drain.
Yes.
Sewer does not like
That's
that.
the biggie. Exactly.
We support you in that message, and we support you in that message. We try very hard to make sure residents know that that is not the option to get rid of that material.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do. Thanks.
Appreciate that.
Thank you for that information, Marcy. Oh my God. Now I know, and I can check. Is there any other questions from any council or committee members? No, I don't see any. Thanks again, Marcy. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Marcy.
What's next, Chris?
Council had asked for a CSO update, and we've been putting this together for a couple of weeks, and we have some exciting news. So on the call, I have Pat Selman, our program manager, Mike W's construction manager, and then I have Heather also, who's going to talk about. She's running our North Side project. So I think Pat and Mike will handle the PowerPoint. We'll go through it pretty rapidly. If you could hold questions till the end, and then we can answer anything that you guys, hopefully anything you guys can ask about the CSO program. So Patrick.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Lotto. Can you see the shared screen? Thumbs up. Okay. Thank you very much. I really appreciate this opportunity. It's been a while since we've been able to come into council. I'm going to run through this fairly quickly. Keep in mind, we will have a Akron Waterways Renewed stakeholders meeting sometime in December, and I will make sure that council gets notified when we have that. At that time, we'll have much more time to go over quite a bit more detail. We want to give you just a brief update on the Akron Waterways Renewed program. Mike Vichachevsky is here to talk about the construction update. And then I want to talk just real brief about the remaining projects and where we are in the current negotiations in what we're calling amendatory number 3. Before we get into that, I want to take the opportunity to brag a little bit. We just had a really good couple of years in completing project elements and our public education program. And I did want to make sure that council was aware that the program in the Engineering Bureau was awarded the Encouraging Environmental Excellence Award, gold level from Ohio EPA. And we've actually, if anybody drives down by the water reclamation facility, you can see we're proudly flying the flag that shows that recognition. Our mayor was awarded from the Ohio Water Environment Association the Elected Officials Award, and that was for his work in environmental projects and especially Akron Waterways Renewed. And I do want to point out in the picture, this is the Gorge Dam with the former Ohio EPA director. Picture on the right shows the mayor with the current Environmental Protection Agency director. And this is when he actually came to Akron in regards to the award of the Gorge Dam grant for design. I do want to also note the bottom right picture. The mayor is not hitting former Councilwoman Keith with a beer bottle. That was the christening of the Rosie. And he was obviously hitting Rosie with the bottle, not Councilwoman Keith. One of our operators down at the Water Reclamation Facility, Tom Sanderson, received the Professional Wastewater Operation Award. And anytime you get to acknowledge their activities down there, they do have an extremely professional staff and do a fantastic job in treating our waste. And Tom was very deserving of that award. The Aqueduct project, which unfortunately Councilman Swirsky, I see, is not here today, but it received the American Council of Engineering Companies Outstanding Achievement Award for its being a complete green street. And we're very proud of that street and how it's performing, not only for the traffic, but also for the environment. I did want to let you know there's a lot of material here on this slide, but despite the pandemic, our All Akron Student Engineering Program has been extremely active. This is the stats of the students involved prior to the pandemic. And you can see even during the pandemic, we've had fantastic participation, over 50 students in our virtual workshops. We've had a think tank, the Shark Tank, and the students actually prepared sort of job interview video presentations. And then we had our local firms, of which we had 22 of them, actually reviewed those and critiqued them and discussed them with the students. But like I said, despite the pandemic, and I do want to shout out to our Mr. Simmons, who works in our Akron Waterways Renewed program, Dr. Halassa with Akron Public Schools, and Terry Malone from First Energy. They have just done a fabulous job in this program. Despite not being able to do our in-person Blue Heron Hangout, we did do virtual events. And those of you that follow us on Facebook, we had weekly videos that were prepared. A lot of them were prepared by our students and the student program. And then we had a weekly activity, virtual activity, where the students that were participating and watching were able to do environmental experiments at home. And again, a little shout out to the people that we worked with to prepare these virtual events. Something hopefully you are aware of, the Route 82 dam up in Brecksville was removed. And this was actually part of the consent decree, Akron's original consent decree, that we contributed towards this environmental project in lieu of a portion of the fine or penalty. And the dam was removed earlier this year, and it was really fascinating. There were actually two dams there. One was an old wooden structure that was built originally for the canal, and then the concrete structure, and both of those structures were removed. And here's kind of a little before and after picture where you can see the old dam, and now this is the free moving water through that section to allow for fish passage and for the repair of the river in that area. Now let me quick give you the update on the consent decree. Those of you who've been around for a while, you know this started back out in 2009 when we started working on the consent decree. Obviously, it wasn't finally entered until January 2014, and it still requires all the projects to be completed by 2027. I do want to point out that we have one of the most stringent consent decrees in the country, requiring 0 untreated overflows in what we call the typical year. Because of everybody considers unaffordability of this consent decree, we went through the integrated plan process, and I believe you're all familiar with what that process was. We've actually successfully amended our consent decree twice, and per Exhibit 3, which is in the consent decree, we were able to do a couple green alternative projects. One was the Merriman project, where we replaced the storage tank with green infrastructure, and the other was out in the Middlebury neighborhood, where we replaced the storage tank with green infrastructure. And we are currently working on our third amendatories under discussion. I'd like to give you just a little summary, kind of give you a feel for where we're at. These are all the original major projects in the consent decree. We had 5 sewer separations, 10 storage basins, a couple tunnels, and then some other miscellaneous projects at the water reclamation facility. We went through the integrated planning process and came up, and we still ended up doing the 5 sewer separations as originally required. In lieu of the 10 storage basins, we actually are doing 5 green conveyance separation projects and only had 5 then storage tanks that had to be built. The 2 tunnels, I think you're all familiar with the Ohio Canal Interceptor Tunnel. And then this is actually part of our mandatory now that we're working on, is the Northside project in lieu of the other tunnel. We completed the step feed project down at the water reclamation facility. And through our amendatory, we replaced this one technology with a newer, better technology. And that project is currently under construction. We completed the mud run pump station as it was required in the consent. The main outfall parallel sewer, anybody has driven down through the valley, you've noticed the parallel sewer where we were able to cap it instead of building a new sewer. And that actually ended up being one of the most successful. It was done significantly ahead of time at significant savings in cost and really came out real well. And this is the last project and it's part of our under review for the third amendatory. As far as where we're at with those projects, and you can see the progress that's been made, these 5 sewer separation projects are complete. The 5 storage tanks are complete. 3 of these green conveyance projects are done. 1 is partially done, and we still have a little bit more work left on that one. And this last one is the Kelly Conveyance Green, which is currently under construction, should be done this week. So 9 of these 10 projects will be complete by the end of the week. The OSIT tunnel is complete. The north side is in design. The step feed is complete. The bioactive flow is in construction. Mud run's complete, and the main outfall is complete. To kind of put that in a little different terms, these projects, and we're really proud of this number, and this actually includes the delays we had with the Ohio Canal Tunnel project. We have finished over 2,000 days early on all of those projects, what I think is really phenomenal and speaks a lot for our construction group to be able to complete these projects early ahead of time with early environmental compliance and environmental benefit. So far, just capital cost wise, you can see we saved about 83 million with the first amendatory, 73 million with the second. And really one of the biggest savings that we've had is in our financial. And I think Heather Ullinger is still on here. She does a lot of our financing through the Water Pollution Control Loan Fund. We have saved over $142 million just in financing by getting low interest loans, no interest loans, getting credits for doing other environmental projects. To me, that's a phenomenal number. And with this third amendatory, we're hoping to save about another $100 million. I want to kind of point out this program. I know numbers a lot of times don't mean anything, but you can, I think, get an idea. Originally, we had 2.4 billion gallons of overflow and bypass at the water reclamation facility. When we're all complete, we're only going to have 75 million gallons at OSIT that's in a typical year. So we're going from 2.4 billion gallons down to 75 million in a typical year, which is a huge accomplishment. A little bit of a graph to give you kind of a visual of the completed projects versus the ones remaining. And again, this under construction 3 projects, one of those will be done this week. So we'll be down to just 2 left. And then we've got 2 that are still in planning and design. I don't want to downplay these too much because the cost of these 2 projects is $366 million. So there's still 2 major projects, but vast majority of the projects will be completed, and again, significantly ahead of schedule. Now I'm going to run through, I've got a lot of pictures to share of just showing the completed projects, because a lot of times when we give updates, we just show you the latest and the newest projects. I want to show you a quick glimpse of all the projects that have been completed. These are some of the ones. This is the Middlebury that I also referenced, was supposed to have been a tank, and we actually created a wetland inside this structure. The Merriman project, I think most of you probably have seen, is also another one that was supposed to have been a tank. If your street wasn't torn up in the last 10 years, there's probably something wrong with your street, because we have replaced, it seemed like a lot of sewers. We rebuilt a lot of sewers, lined a lot of sewers, and hopefully the end result of that is, at least the end of the day, you get a nice new street if we do have to replace the sewer if it wasn't lined. Here's 3 of our storage basins, one of our larger ones and a couple of the smaller ones. Howard Basin down there off of Cuyahoga Street, one of the newer ones. And this is the Mud Run, which is in the southwest corner of Akron, our largest pump station, and it's got a storage facility also. This is the main outfall. It's grown in now. You don't even know that it's there anymore. And this is one of our newer projects, the Euler Conveyance Project. It was recently completed. And we already mentioned Aqueduct as far as being an award winner. And this is one of the projects out in the Green Kelly Conveyance area where we put in a rain garden. And this is in the place of a storage tank, of a concrete tank. So you can just, visually even see the benefits of doing the green projects. And this is the most recent project that was completed out in East Akron. This is the Hazel Storage Basin. There has been a lot of work done at the reclamation facility, including redoing the entire secondary process. And that kind of gets you up to the projects that have been complete. And now Mike Vigitesi is going to run through some of the projects that are currently under construction. Mike?
Yeah, thanks, Pat. And I do think we owe Pat a lot. He's been on this program since really you started with the city. So he's a wealth of knowledge, and kudos to Pat, and obviously thank you to Chris and the council people for passing this. And it's very important to our long-term health here in the city, and the environmental benefits are already being seen in the river. So I think we all deserve a lot of credit, and the taxpayers as well, which as we try to move forward here. So as far as the construction update, we do still have about $110 million worth of work going on down at the reclamation facility. The first one is the biosept, as you see there. And what I always like to equate to it is basically we're performing open heart surgery on a plant that is live, that can never be shut down. So the coordination between all the facilities, and to illustrate what we have to do, there's a slide coming up here that basically shows you what exactly it is. What we're looking at here is a biosept a little bit. Pat, can you move forward one? So the biosept really is allowing us to get capacity on the reclamation facility to treat everything that comes in the front door. So anything that comes down the pipe, we're able to treat, which is will be a first for the city of Akron. And ever since the step feed project, that used to be about 110 million, and it jumped up to 220 right now, where we're currently at, and we're going to be at 280 by the time this biosept project is coming in. These are just some cross sections that you see through the area there. It's an impressive project. There's a lot of moving parts that have to happen there. On the other side, this is on the north side of the facility. On the south side of the facility, we have another $50 million project, and this is the Headworks project. Although not a consent decree project, it's still a vital part of the overall plant. And I would invite anybody who ever gets a chance to look at the plant. It is really a clean place. It's a well-oiled machine. They have a lot of professionals that really know what they're doing down there. It's really impressive. What this is, here's where the sewer comes into the treatment plant to be treated, and we're essentially building all the way around that structure you see there, that pipe. That will replace an existing about an 80 or 90-year-old building with new screens, and it'll be a much more efficient facility. And we're also building a bridge, replacing the old structure that comes across the river. Nobody wants to have that sewer break. That is about 90 years old, that comes across there. So a new structure is being built to house that as well. Moving forward on the OSID job, we are basically wrapping up with this. It is performing well. We are gathering data every day. This is dry weather flow. What you're seeing inside here obviously is the finished tunnel on the left, and on the right is, I believe, REX 18 diversion structure, which is over there by Glendale, which we had just opened up Rand Avenue here in the last week or two. Going through these flow calculations, there's about 9 racks that flow into the Ohio Canal Interceptor Tunnel, or the OSID. And these are the dates that came into play. Overall, this can capture roughly, give or take, about 500,000 gallons, 500 billion gallons a year that we're saving in CSOs. The tunnel itself is 25.6 million gallons. We're able to control that through real-time controls, again, through the treatment plant and through this overall program. The Kelly Conveyance and the Green Project, there's actually 3 projects over there. The Kelly Conveyance project is complete. It was completed late September. That included basically adding a bigger size pipe into our main trunk line and offloading it through different means. And the other part of that was Chittenden, which was completed earlier this year or late last year. And then we also are currently in what you see up there now is the Kelly Conveyance. This should be done here in the next day or two. We're wrapping up with a little bit of landscape, as you can kind of see on the screen there, with the outlines of the what we call the GIs, or the green infrastructure. Those are almost done, and they will create what you see, that what Pat showed you earlier, is those very nice, luscious looking gardens. And really what it's meant to do is get that water clean as you go through. Any questions?
Okay, thanks, Mike. I've got some other pictures of some of the green projects too at the very end, so you get an idea what those are going to look like. Let me go ahead and run through the remaining projects then that aren't under construction. The consent decree does require a tunnel, a second tunnel. This is the North Hill. This is the Gorge Dam, Cuyahoga Falls, the top part of your screen. And the tunnel would run from Front Street down along the High Bridge Trail down to Peck Road. The other project requires, I mentioned those 3 overflows, 75 million gallons a day, requires treatment of that 75 million gallons a day. Just a little bit of history on this. When we did the consent decree, it was originally proposed or estimated that we would have 7 CSOs that would require treatment at 185 million gallons a day. Therefore, we were required to actually provide treatment of those 7 overflows. Through the enhancements of the model, refining it, getting much more accurate results, we've shown that there's only 3 overflows, which would result in 75 million gallons. So we're really showing or questioning why this 75 million would still need to be treated due to having really no impact on the receiving stream. And then again, keep in mind, 75 compares to where we started at 2.4 billion gallons. So this is part of, both these projects are part of this amendatory number 3. In the current negotiations on the north side tunnel, we did get prior agreement with US EPA in regards to what flows and capacities would be coming out of the north side area. And also that in lieu of building a second tunnel, that we could actually do sewer separations and additional conveyance and not have to do a tunnel. And we've already reached agreement with EPA on what the flows would be from the separation. So here's a kind of a shot of North Hill, Patterson's down here. Here's Route 8 running through, and obviously the Cuyahoga River and the Gorge Dam. What we're proposing to do is to separate these 2 drainage areas, 34 and 35, completely. So we would completely eliminate these 2 overflows. By eliminating those overflows and making this pipe a little bit larger, we can also control these 2 combined sewer areas down to no overflows in a typical year. So this is our current proposal for the north side project: eliminate the tunnel and do sewer separations and additional conveyance in lieu of building a tunnel. Not only does it eliminate those 2 overflows, but it also provides significant additional benefits of not doing a tunnel or avoiding a tunnel. And a lot of those areas include providing earlier environmental benefits. I always equate the tunnels as kind of putting a Band-Aid on a problem. What this does is address the problem, not a Band-Aid. So we end up actually going in and removing the stormwater connections, removing the clean water connections, either building a new storm sewer or a new sanitary sewer in lieu of the combined sewer, and then use the combined sewer for the storm sewer. So there are a significant lot of just additional benefits beyond just the environmental benefit of eliminating those two overflows. And as we get into mandatory number 3, you're going to be seeing a lot of this as far as what additional benefits we can provide. The second part of that is to what we're proposing to do an alternative project to that treatment at the Ohio Canal Tunnel. And what we're equating that to, basically, there's a bacteria issue in the river during those 3 overflows. And that's really the only environmental issue with those 3 overflows. And I like to compare that to 3 apples. So 3 times a year, we'll have that discharge. And really, it doesn't cause a violation of the water quality standards, those 3 overflows, because the bacteria level is already being exceeded significantly. And if those background levels weren't there, these overflows would not cause a violation. So the alternative project we're proposing would be a project similar to removing the Ohio Canal, the Gorge Dam. And actually, I compare that to 365 oranges, because although it's not addressing the bacteria issue, it is providing water quality benefit to this part of the Cuyahoga River 365 days a year. It's repairing the riparian area, it's repairing the water, it's allowing for fish passage up to the dam, up to the waterfalls, and it's eliminating the adverse condition that water impoundment causes. So we're it's apples and oranges because it's different types of water quality consideration, but the 3 bacteria apples compared to 365 oranges fully restoring this section of the stream. We definitely think alternative projects are much more beneficial than building another facility. And as part of that alternative project, these are some of the options that we're looking at that could be done instead of building that treatment facility. One of those we've already accomplished is getting a grant from US EPA to design the dam removal. US EPA is already working on the removing of the sediment that's behind the dam, but what this grant does is actually provides money for the design of removing the dam. And what's great about this grant, these don't come around very often, is the grant pays for 100% of the construction of this grant pays 100% of the design. But when we get the grant for the dam removal itself, it'll pay 100%. So there's actually no local share, and they actually pay Akron for our work done on this project. That's included in the grant. With that, I just want to leave you with, you're going to hear a lot more about this third mandatory as we go down the road. And again, we'll have our stakeholder meeting in December, and we'll let you know the times and the day of that. But I always love to leave with some nice pictures of what these projects all lead to. I don't know if you've noticed, but all along the Cuyahoga River, in celebration of the 50 years since the fire, they've got the blue heron statues to dedicate the rededication of the river. This is our Euler project, shows a before and after picture. This was the former sewer crossing, and now with our aerial crossing, this river's been restored and the floodplain's been restored. I think you've seen aqueduct. This was actually one of our concrete tanks. We were able to restore the stream adjacent to the concrete tank and provide wetlands, which even when we're forced to do a concrete tank, we can still provide environmental benefit. And here's some pictures again of some of our, this is the Merriman from this spring, the stormwater detention. This is one of the Kelly Green projects. And again, this is aqueduct. This is where the 82 dam came out and shows somebody down there fly fishing. And this is the what the gorge used to look like before they built the gorge dam. And then in summary, here's a couple additional flowered pictures. And again, it's about our children's future. The blue heron, a couple shots of eco, the Cuyahoga River being designated as a water trail, and what the results of a lot of hard work has been as far as what's actually in the river now. Besides, the pollution's gone now, and now we've got these fabulous fish populations. So very quickly, that's the quick update. Any quick questions? I know we're right up against our time here.
Pat, first I want to thank you and Mike for all of your work on this project. I really am pleased with the projects that are going on in East Akron. That both the Chittenden Street projects they're just wonderful. They really uplift that neighborhood over there. They really do. I haven't really been able to see the Weeks one yet because it's still a little blocked off. You can't really get down there yet. But the one on Kelly Avenue, that green project is amazing. I don't know if we have any other green projects that are down the road maybe, but just how they stack the rocks over there for the waterfall, that's something that can be implemented in the other locations. I think the residents would really like that because they even have a walking path through there. I'm hoping that the kids in the neighborhood will appreciate it. But it is beautiful. You guys have done a wonderful, wonderful job. Just briefly, if you could send the council members a PDF of this, I'd appreciate it because I think we all probably want to give our residents personal updates on what's going on with the project because I know a lot of people always ask about them and look at their water bills and complain, but I think if they really see why and what is being done, I think they'd appreciate it just as much as we do. And lastly, maybe sometime in the spring, if we could probably do something probably more over toward the Joy Park area. I know when the projects were going on in East Akron, we had an event over at the Yandassee. But I think because most of the projects are closer over to the Joy Park side, maybe if we can do something over there where the residents can actually see some pictures of what all these projects look like. And I think that'll be very helpful.
Yeah, our Blue Heron outreach, we definitely plan on doing, I'll do the bunny ears thing. Hopefully this spring, we can do our educational events out there. And at a minimum, we'll do the virtual events, but obviously in the spring and summer, we're going to concentrate our Blue Heron events at the green projects for the education of the youth and the adults. And I'm available for any of your ward meetings. If you want to see the shorter presentation, longer, whatever you like, we're available for you. Just let me know.
Okay, sounds good. I have a question from Councilman Fusco.
Excuse me, out of respect for council, I'm gonna ask all my questions. I've got quite a few. But Pat, I'll just reserve the right, if it's okay, that I'll direct them toward you later on, perhaps next week. But I have quite a few. But I do want to just simply say that, you know, some of us older folks who's been around for some time, you know, it was this has been such a challenge for our residents to be carrying the burden of this. But you and your team and the city, the service director's office, the mayor, everyone pulling together and trying. I think, you know, even though it's so difficult for some families to have to shoulder this responsibility, that we are. I think we all have a different view. Like you know, we're in this together, and we, as you had mentioned, this is about our children, and so we appreciate that. All the efforts, all the awards, and everything you guys are doing. So I'll be in touch, Pat, soon. Thanks again.
Yeah, one thing just to note, now that Brecksville Dam is gone, the fish that used to run into that dam, and everybody knows what a fish says when it runs into a dam. Damn. That was another joke. It's hard when you don't get any response, but that was my other joke. But anyway, now that dam is removed, those fish are coming into Akron. And the Little Cuyahoga and the Cuyahoga River, that's where the fish are going to be. And our residents paid for this. They need to start taking advantage of it. And we really need to hit the education program, whether, you know, through our Blue Heron group, through Summit Metro Parks, through the National Park. We need to get our residents aware of what opportunities are there in regards to our waterways, because they paid for it and they need to take advantage of using that resource.
Thank you for that, Pat. I don't see any other hands raised, and due to time and respect for that time, I would say that Public Service Committee is adjourned. Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Guys, thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next committee of the day is the Rules Committee meeting. Those council members are Freeman, Fusco, Amobian, Connor, and Malik. It looks like everyone is here except for Councilman Freeman. Councilman Fusco, you're vice chair of this committee. Do you want to go ahead and get started? I don't know if you've heard from Councilman Freeman. I have not.
No. You don't mind me reaching out
Yep.
out of respect for the committee chair. One second, please. Chairman Freeman will be with us shortly. In about a minute or two. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Chairman Freeman has joined us. Looks like he's connecting to audio now.
Yeah, give me just a moment if you could, please. I apologize for my tardiness. All righty. Okay, Sarah, could you do a roll call, please?
Sure can. Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Amobian, I know I saw her.
She's muted. Councilwoman, you're muted.
Yeah, I lost my place. This is Linda Mobian. Aye.
Thank you. Connor?
Aye.
And Malik?
Aye.
All committee members are present.
Okay, very good. I failed to call the meeting to order. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting. And
So
second.
moved.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Okay, sir, I do not believe we had anything on the old agenda.
Correct.
Okay, so we have one item. This is an ordinance amending and or supplementing Title 3, Chapter 38, Unlawful Discrimination, Section 38.01, Definitions of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Akron and declaring an emergency. Who will be addressing us, please?
I believe Councilwoman Samples.
I will. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, Councilwoman Samples.
Yes, thank you. If we could, Sarah, I spoke with Sarah a little earlier about this. If you could please read in the whereas clauses on this legislation, just to give some deference to why this is being presented. Thank you. Okay,
very good. Let me pull up my legislation here and we will go ahead and read that in. Again, this is the ordinance that's being brought in by Councilwoman Samples and Councilman Swirsky. Whereas throughout the United States, physical traits, for example, dark skin and kinky curly hair, have been used to classify individuals on the basis of race. And whereas discrimination based on race and national origin can and does occur because of longstanding racial and national origin biases and stereotypes associated with hair texture and style. And whereas these biases have also permeated societal understanding of professionalism Professionalism is closely linked to European features and mannerisms, which require those who do not naturally fall into Eurocentric norms to alter their appearance, sometimes drastically and permanently, in order to be deemed professional. And whereas, despite the great strides of our society and laws have made to reverse the ideology that let me get my glasses, that Black traits are inferior, hair remains a rampant source of racial discrimination with serious economic and health consequences, especially for Black individuals. And whereas workplace dress codes and grooming policies that prohibit natural hair, including afros, braids, twists, and locks, are more likely to deter applicants and burden or punish Black employees than any other group. And whereas, although federal law prohibits discrimination based on race, federal law does not protect individuals from race-based hair discrimination, which is why local anti-discrimination laws are vital to prohibit this damaging effect. And whereas in a society in which hair has historically been one of many determining factors of a person's race and whether they were a second-class citizen, hair today remains a proxy for race. Therefore, grooming or appearance policies that ban, limit, or otherwise restrict or punish natural hair types or hairstyles commonly associated with minorities and their racial, ethnic, and cultural identities violate the intent and spirit of Akron's anti-discrimination ordinances. And whereas acting in accordance with the constitutional values of fairness, equity, and opportunity for all, the Council of the City of Akron recognizes that continuing to enforce a Eurocentric image of professionalism through purportedly race-neutral grooming policies that disparately impact Black individuals and exclude them from some workplaces is in direct opposition to equity and opportunity for all. And Councilwoman Samples, would you like to comment?
Yes, briefly.
Thank you.
I do want to say, first of all, I want us to take a week on this prior to any action being taken, to give council an opportunity to read over the legislation and get a grasp on why myself and Councilman Swirsky felt a need to bring this in. And also I want to make sure that Councilman Swirsky is here as well as a co-sponsor on this legislation. There currently are 7 states who have passed this legislation. Those states are, let me make sure I got my facts together here. It has been signed into law in the state of California. Their governor signed it into law there. It has also been passed in New York, New Jersey, Virginia, Colorado, Washington State, Maryland, and in addition, Cincinnati has signed it, and Montgomery County, Maryland has also signed it into law. Some people are wondering why should this legislation come forward? And I really was surprised that we've passed so many other anti-discrimination ordinances that this wasn't a part of that. I do want to commend Matthew Cherry, who is a graduate of the University of Akron that I've known for many years, on him spearheading this through his Crown Act. And many of us saw that he won an Oscar for his book regarding natural hair. And I just want our council to take the time to really read it and understand the reasoning for this coming through. And I ask for this support. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councilwoman Samples. Are there any other comments or questions? And I believe the sponsor had requested a week's time. We have a motion for time.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if you can see that Councilman Malik has his hand raised.
I cannot see that now. Councilman Malik.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Councilwoman Samples. I stand in support of this legislation. I think we've seen, as she mentioned, across the nation, efforts to make it clear that discrimination on the basis of hairstyles, which is oftentimes a proxy for discrimination on race, is not acceptable. And I think that we have passed a resolution encouraging that at the state level, but I think that this helps make it concrete here in our local laws. The one thing I wanted to ask in looking at, I know that we're changing the definition here, and I wonder if someone from our law department or Ms. Nish could maybe speak to where we got the language. Did we get it from another city or from, another state law or where that came from? So.
Sure, this is Ellen. John York from the law department drafted this. I do believe Councilwoman Samples provided him with a couple other ordinances to review. I'm not entirely sure exactly which formed the basis of this language, but we can certainly send that background information and email to the committee so you can review that before next week.
Thank you so much.
And then just quickly as well, I let Councilwoman Samples know this, but the members of the Akron Civil Rights Commission, which is the body that would be enforcing this if council does decide to enact this, we're also potentially interested in giving some feedback on that. So I'll connect them with you, Councilwoman Samples, and you guys can determine whether they can attend as a guest, maybe at a future committee meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Brant actually reached out to myself and Rich this morning, so absolutely.
Very good. Councilwoman Samples, and Councilman Malik had brought it up. It's been a couple years since we sent this down to, we sent a resolution to Columbus. How long has it been?
No, it hasn't been a couple years. We brought in the Crown resolution probably right before COVID, right before we shut everything down.
Okay. Okay, I thought it'd been longer than that. All right, thank you. All right, any other comments I might not see here? I'm looking on my screen.
Motion to refer.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, very good. We'll refer that to next week's agenda. I would encourage anybody, if you have any questions, to reach out to Councilwoman Samples. And with that, we will be going into budget and finance in 60 seconds. All right. If we could call the Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order. Who all do we have with us, Ms. Viviano?
Freeman.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Baylor.
Aye.
And Lombardo.
Aye.
All committee members are present.
Very, very good. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting, please?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Great, very, very good. I'm having some trouble here with my electronics. Bear with me while I get our minute meetings back up. Okay, here we go. We have one item on the old agenda. Do we have a motion for that item?
So moved.
Second.
What's the motion?
What's the motion, please?
Oh,
The motion is for us to, let me go to the, do you have it in front of you, Sarah?
Yeah, for
I know it's to
clarification.
pass the, go ahead.
Sure. For clarification, the item that's still on our regular agenda is for the expenditure of $10,000 for the Balancing Act Pro taxpayer receipt and meeting mode software. We've been taking time since October on that item.
So we had two items from the previous meeting. Are we ready to act on this, or we want to take more time again?
That's what I'm asking, if anybody wants to act on this, or that's what's out on the floor right now. You want to continue to take time?
Then we have the legislation from last week, right?
Yeah, we're dealing with the item on our old
The
agenda.
Balancing Act.
Yes.
Okay.
So what exactly is this? It's not being explained clearly where I'm understanding what this motion totally
It's about-
consists of.
We're just asking, do we want to continue to take time? Does somebody want to vote to approve, vote to turn this down? That's basically just trying to take care of old business right now.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to take time.
I make a motion. I would like to make an emotion. I mean, I would like to make a motion. I had to think about it, how to do this, because I don't do it often, for an adverse report.
Okay, well, right before you, there was a motion made to take time. So we'll need to entertain that motion, see how that goes. And if that motion does not pass, we'll come back to your motion, okay? So there was a motion made to take time. Okay.
Chairman.
Yes.
Chairman Freeman, I'll withdraw my motion. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was on the wrong
very
item.
good. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So Mr. Lombardo has withdrew his motion, and I'll come back to Ms. Baylor, I believe it was. You made a motion for what, adverse report?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yes.
Okay. Did I hear a second?
I will second that.
Okay. So we're voting on an adverse report. All those in favor of the adverse report, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Roll call,
Would you like a roll call? Yes.
please.
Freeman,
Aye.
Amobian,
Nay.
Malik,
Aye.
Baylor,
Aye.
and Lombardo.
Aye.
The motion passes 4-1.
Okay. All right. Next, we have, I believe, one new item. This is an ordinance amending and or supplementing various sections of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Akron relating to residential and business alarms, repealing Title 11, Chapter 111, Regulations Governing Specific Businesses, Section 111.381, Alarm Users License of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Akron, and declaring an emergency. And who will be addressing this?
I will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Members of the committee. So before you is a piece to go ahead and do some code cleanup. As you know, the finance department is looking for value activities. Through some talks with our treasury division, it was determined that this was an area that we could use some improvement. So currently we are still licensing residential alarm users. We are not charging a license fee any longer. We stopped charging that back in 2014 once we went to a verified response model. However, we are continuously processing 5,600 of these licenses. We no longer charge for false alarm drops. The police, like I said, are only responding if there's a verified alarm drop, and there's really no purpose to continue to license the residential alarm user. So we're looking to clean this up from our ordinances. This costs the city about $13,000 a year in labor, postage, paper. We have a staff member in treasury that spends about 15 hours a month on this duty, and we're essentially issuing a piece of paper to people that we're not doing anything further with. And if you don't get the license, there's no enforcement. This was really an avenue for us to collect data back when we charged people for false alarm drops, which we are no longer doing. We still, though, want to license large businesses that have alarms. So your banks, your hospitals, the police are responding to those ones. So this amendment to the code is just affecting the residential alarm user. So any questions?
Yeah, I thought we had done this back when we changed our policy. Okay, very good.
It probably should have been done. We stopped charging at that point for the license, but we're still spending a ton on postage, paper, like I said, labor, and there's just really no point in issuing this license any longer for the residential user.
Okay, very good. All right.
Mr. Chair.
Questions? Yeah. Is that Miss Amobian?
Yes.
Yes.
It's not covered.
You know what? You froze up on me there, Linda. I'm not sure
I'm
if
sorry.
everybody else heard you or not.
Shelley, are you saying with this change, if my alarm goes off, the police will not come? They're
That
still
was the
connected.
change. That was the change that was made in 2014. The Akron City Council went to a verified response model with the Akron Police Department. And so this was just a licensing people who have alarms. But once we went to that verified response model, it really does not make sense to license and to issue people a piece of paper for individuals that have an alarm in their homes.
So my alarm does not go to the police department any longer. It hasn't since 2014. Is that what you're saying? Am I not coming through clearly?
No, you're not.
Can you hear me at all,
Now,
Ginger?
yes, now. It was muffled.
I probably need to go out in the parking lot. Anyway, Shelley, can you hear me?
Yes.
So as of today, and maybe as of 2014, and I didn't realize it, if my alarm goes off, it doesn't go to the police department any longer?
Correct. That we went to a verified response model. So somebody else needs to contact the police and say that they see someone outside of your home.
I see.
The alarm companies can dispatch, they can dispatch someone to your home to look to see if there's anything amiss. And they would be the verification. They would call the police department and say, we've responded, something's going on here. But the police department back in 2014, it was determined that they would no longer respond to
those.
Time consuming to
I
respond
remember
to all the false alarm drops.
Right. And thank you. I remember that discussion now. So, but sometimes having it still is good.
Yeah.
Because the burglar doesn't know that. Hopefully they won't read the paper.
Yeah, and as I recall, and you can correct me, Shelley, if somebody does have a system where there is audio or there is visual, APD will use that as confirmation and they will respond to those. But where it's just a drop signal, we were having I think over 90% of our calls.
Yes, it was 90% plus of false alarms. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I know it was an incredible amount of calls that were just not correct calls, but as it was explained to us here 6 years ago, if there's audio confirmation or if you have a camera in there, that counts as confirmation and they will respond. So nothing's changed. We're just cleaning up the language of probably should have been done 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we want to reassign this person to more value-added activities in Treasury, and it doesn't make sense for them to continue processing these licenses that really have no enforcement, and there's no purpose to it any longer since we're not charging for the false alarm drops.
Sure. Very good. Are there any other questions or comments? Please just speak up because I can't see everybody right now. All right, there we go. Comments or questions? All right, very good. Ms. Goodrich, what would be the pleasure on this?
Consent is fine, thank you.
Okay, very good.
I'll make the motion for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent. All in favor, please let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good. We'll see that that's placed on the consent agenda. And I believe that's it for Budget and Finance. Thank you, everyone, and we will adjourn.
Okay, that's our final committee meeting of the day. Thank you.